them come. This is their fate.
All right. Welcome back to the House of Wolves podcast. I am your host, Deontay, here with my near and dear friends, Jalen and Josh. They just coming in off of one's coming off that sleep, one coming off that, I don't know, either baby duty or being out on the town, all over the place today. But we're here to talk about some games. I still ain't got my intro sounds, which is starting to look bad since we're like episode 75. Right? At this point, I need to definitely just go ahead and figure out some gunshots, some music, some introduction, something to get the people going. But I don't want to, obviously not that song. But yeah, let's get started really. But before we do, as usual, Jalen, Josh, update the people on what you've been up to, what you've been doing, how life's going, what you've been playing, anything intriguing going on in your life at this very moment. Let the people know.
Well, I thought it'd be nice to not let Deontay know that I'm in Ohio right now, and I was going to surprise him. So surprise Deontay, I'm in Ohio.
Yeah, sure
like
you
probably
is.
go to Japan. Now I'm finna go to Japan tomorrow. I ain't been playing nothing. I got my Steam Deck ready for that trip.
And what games you got loaded?
He just got Steam, straight Steam games. He love his Steam games.
It ain't like I don't have anything like Mario Galaxy or Metal Gear Solid Subsistence or Pokemans or what is a Pokemon?
What's a Pokemon? No, G.
I just got Overwatch on there. You know, that's it. That's all I'm playing. Overwatch on the plane with no internet connection. Have a jolly good time.
You can't hop on no server with no internet. But yeah,
how to do it? Connect to the world without internet.
Yes, sir. Okay, you got your stuff ready. That's good. Anything, you ain't been playing nothing, right? You just been, I guess, our little sessions of Overwatch. Outside of that, nothing really too crazy. How is packing for Japan in 2023? Is that different from 2016 when we went?
Yeah, I don't even remember packing in 2016.
Yeah. It was if I remember correctly, I think it was big suitcase, one big suitcase, something like that. I don't remember, but I think I remember being like, oh yeah, we should have did one suitcase because I think we ended up doing two. Which I had like a really big one. So no, it was just a different time, I suppose, when it come to airfare and travel, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah, you had your Pete. What's the shoes called? The not Grizzly. Pennies.
Yeah, Penny Hardaway. My phone.
Yeah,
rookie phone posit, cutting up my foot.
Yeah.
I was up in that mud, please. I said, well, bleeding. I said, I had to get
that
those.
boy had Atheon in his feet, bro. He was going crazy.
I had to get those slippers. Those slippers them boys wasn't working for me either. But they at least relieved the pain. But then I think it started raining or almost rained. And I was like,
remember being wet or something.
I got them cloth slippers. Got them cloth slippers on, man.
I'm like, man, my dog down bad, bro.
I said, watch the puddles. You know, Josh put his head down. He just keep moving. He don't even look back. I said, watch the puddles, Josh. Where you taking us?
Walk at 7.
Where you taking us?
Like, bro, I'm like, it's an active exercise to catch up walking you, bro. And stop. Right?
He said, what you talking about? I'm just walking. I'm like, bro, daddy long
my
legs.
Y'all want to walk
Sit your butt down, boy. I said, you gotta get him something to block off his knees from being able to bend. Cause that man was striding.
Slow down. If you didn't tell him to slow down, he'd have slowed down real quick. He didn't care about your feet though. But I tell this man to slow down, bro. He ain't listening now.
Hey, listening to us, but yeah.
Nah, them oracles is going crazy on your feet, though, man.
Listen, or the little things was tagging me. I said, bro, what they get? You get lost in the darkness. You got lost in the abyss. My feet was lost in that abyss, man. They said, oh,
Lost
they
in
did go
time.
that lost in time. I said, Jesus. But yeah, I mean, that's what I'm thinking about. 2023, Jalen, with the bumps and bruises that 2016 Deontay went through. The packing.
Hey, you still got scars on your feet from that time?
Nah. It wasn't that bad. It just was sore to walk. And now I
Oh,
gotta do
okay.
my now I'm doing that 5K and everything, and I gotta go train for that. And I'm like, bro, I'm not been looking forward to running because I got bad legs. I'm old.
Uh,
I got bad legs. My feet. I don't know. Something. It's not even an endurance thing. I literally have like inflamed shins by the end of a run. It could be a mile. So I gotta go. Pop me some type of pain reliever before I do this because I already know them boys gonna be toe up.
man, not you. Man, you too young.
No, I'm not. No, you're not. Especially when I was having these problems when I was 14, 15. So
Dang, for real?
yeah, when I was running track, because I don't know if I run too heavy or my stride isn't proper, or I don't know, whatever it is. When I run, I put too much weight um on my leg, that inner, like, or the top. I forget. I think it's the shin. Yeah, it's the shin. Whatever I do, I put too much weight on it, or I run too hard. But whatever the case may be, over time it begins to burn and it starts to swell. So I have to like sit down. It doesn't happen with basketball because I'm short spurts. It's more so when I'm doing like a long endurance running. So I know it's
Man,
gonna
come see
happen.
me. I give you a joint injection to come from that inflammation now.
I suppose so. But yeah, looking
Hey,
forward
some
to that.
anti-inflammatory diet.
Yeah, it's a, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but we'll see. I haven't done like any endurance running in a long time, so I always usually get on a bike or something, so I don't have to worry about that. But now I gotta do it. It's gonna be a little interesting. But but yeah, what about you, Josh? I know he's coming your way, so anything you're doing differently this year than 2016 in preparation to see your boy?
Get ready to take some pictures.
Remember that all boys dorm room? We could. He was like, man, we gotta sneak them in. He said, no, they don't even come back. They don't check. I was like, what does this mean? But yeah, it was interesting going down there the first time with Josh when he was still in school.
Planning differently, not really. I guess it's more flexible because not as many people, so we can just maybe hit more places in a day.
Yeah.
I know Dylan said he had like a list of places you want to see, and we'll probably try to check out a couple places that we didn't get to see last time. The main thing is I think we're just gonna stay local this time, not traveling far, because like a Tokyo trip is like its own. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
it needs its own trip to like fully take it in, because when you gotta get there, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of traveling and trains and stuff like that, and it's a big city, so we'll stick in my area and see the nice spots. I think y'all came like spring break time, so it was a little bit warmer last time. It's not like bad out here weather-wise, but some areas got a little snow or it might be windy, so we'll see how the weather is. But yeah, just hang out. Try to get Jalen to take some pictures, see if he act like he like me.
Man, I know you ain't talking, bro. You be the first person that boy, man. I don't even like y'all, bro. I'm tolerating y'all because y'all got benefits. Like, I really don't like y'all that
You
much, though.
hear that chip on his shoulder? He said, I know you ain't talking.
From
I ain't
Best
cut
Buy.
into you.
Man, I wish I could show y'all a visual picture of how Josh be feeling about it. He be like, man, I ain't taking my mask off first. I don't even like y'all. I'd be dang if I get COVID around people all right. What?
That joke was funny. He said he said it as he said as a picture and said, "Remember when Josh liked this?" I said, "Yeah."
Hey, he is smiling, and then the last picture, he's just looking like, these dudes. I don't even know why they came and come see me, bro. I don't even want to see y'all. I'm really only here because Yuri told me to come here. If it weren't for her, y'all definitely want to see me. Ugly. Let me.
Oh my god. But yeah, yeah. I guess it's exciting. I'm excited that y'all get to spend some time together and do that type of stuff because that's real fun stuff, and that's probably the more enjoyable interactions than we probably had ever within a game. So I'm happy y'all get to do that this year. And sometime, hopefully this year, we all can do something. But what about
Yeah,
what
man,
you
I've been
been?
asking the trip. My bad.
No. I know you been, but we got to figure out, timing wise. Wait for everybody back to the States, and we got. Well, me and Josh got children now. It's kind of harder, but we'll figure something out for sure because I want to make that a goal for sure to do something by the end of the year, if not like August time to do something. So no, for sure, we're gonna keep talking about it, and we gonna do something. But what you been playing, Josh? What you been playing?
This week I ain't really been playing nothing outside of Midnight Suns. Pushing through that, trying to I guess finish it. It's a long game and it's a lot of stuff to do. Similar to like what I said with Fire Emblem, it's a lot of like social stuff, like building up your team and stuff like that. So
a lot of cake baking.
Yeah, I mean not necessarily some stuff, but it's mostly like exploring the environment, making sure that all of your team members like are equally leveled, because like you can bring only like 3 people into a mission, but you got like 12 people on your team, so it's like little side missions you can do to like boost them up quickly, but you got to do it for each individual character, and that it just takes time trying to build your team. But I mean, I'm enjoying it. I have 75 hours on Steam right now, but to be fair, some of that is just me leaving the computer on, so it's probably more like 60. But it's still pretty long. I haven't finished it yet. But I mean, I'm enjoying it. I will say I can see how some people like. I know you brought up the skill up review. If you're not like really into the characters or the story, it'll drag on because all of the talking and stuff. I mean, you can skip it, but then you are literally missing out on like mechanics and stuff like that keep getting upgraded. So if it's too long, then you probably get bored of like doing all that for too long.
Right.
But I mean, I'm enjoying it. I like the characters, I like the story so far, and I enjoy the side content stuff. Nice. Outside of that, I haven't touched anything else really. Just Overwatch.
Yeah, well, I picked up my copy. I don't know how quick I'm gonna get around to it. Midnight Suns.
You haven't played it yet?
I haven't played it yet because I was like, let me beat Final Fantasy first before I switch discs.
So, yeah.
Because once I switch a disc, I'm like, well, take me a real long time to get that disc back in that game system. So I'm gonna wait until I finish Final Fantasy and then I switch to Midnight Suns. But it was just a way for me to get a copy without having to spend no money, so I just bought it. But I'm gonna take my time with it and jump in it when I'm ready.
You get my copy too?
No, sir. No. It'd be your own kind. Yeah, that's for sure. But I love to see you prosper. Hopefully you get you a copy. Hopefully you play the game we finna talk about, because I'm Segway King, Hifi Rush, because it's free. And hopefully, I mean, that's what I've been playing. That's a little bit. I get you what I've been playing. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush recently
I
came
almost
out.
downloaded.
You almost downloaded it?
Then I seen that Final Fantasy 13 was gone off my Game Pass and Hades. I was just like, man, cut this off, bro. I
You
don't even
took
want
too
to compensate.
long. You took too long, man. You coming around to good games. That's too long.
How I got
Uh,
3 years at Game Pass and they taking off the games I'm actively playing.
you gotta buy it with the discount. They got a
Really?
discount, man. You should. They tell you when they finna leave. They tell you about to
Well,
leave
I,
Game
I
Pass.
cut my Xbox on every 3 months, bro.
So that's what the problem is. You
The
talking about
problem
it?
is they got something on there. Why they gonna put a whole RPG on it and they finna take it off like it don't take 20 minutes, like it don't take like 40 plus hours to beat. They put
Fam,
Nino Cooney on there. I'm like, when y'all finna take
go
this off? But
go look
anyway,
when they first initially put on Final Fantasy 13. And you tell me how long you need it.
it don't matter. It should stay on there.
That's not how
What
that
I'm gonna do is
works.
save data.
It's called Game Pass, not Game Stay On. It's
Well,
Game
it's finna be
Pass.
good.
You
It's finna be
pass.
game trash. I'm looking like they literally ain't got no games on here. I was playing Perfect Dark Zero, and I was like, how am I even playing? How did I play this game before? This game is this game is literally
Do you
butt
like
cheeks,
I,
bro.
Berserk?
I saw him play a Perfect Dark. I said, "What is Jayla doing? He must be experimenting." I just left it alone.
They had Cloud Gamer. I was like, let me see if this Perfect Dark here for me. They used to go crazy on this game. I was just thinking like, nah, we is crazy for playing this game. Like, what? The game was trash, bro.
Man, you just got new eyes, man. That's like going back to playing Tekken 3 and talking about like Tekken 7 ain't crispy. So it's like that, man. It's just that's all that is. You just stuff matures, but at that time you enjoyed the game. That's all that was. Like I'm not gonna go back and play True Crime, but at that time I really loved True Crime. That's it.
Oh,
That's all that
I
is
thought that
to
game.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Hi-Fi Rush. I don't want to dim their light. By Tango Gameworks, really great game. That came out as a Shadow Drop. It came out during a developer direct, which I think was on a Wednesday. It could have been a Tuesday, but I think it was Wednesday. And basically, it was a I think it's like a $30, $40 game. And
It's 30.
yeah, I think it's $30 game, and it's like a beat 'em up, mash 'em up, rhythm based fighter, and it's like a it is a third person action game, but it also has like story elements, and overall, I guess my biggest impression of the game is how polished the game is, how everything just works, the systems and how they engage the rhythm to match the world, and like pretty much the entire game I'm playing that game I'm bobbing my head because it's just like okay, you get into that like rhythm of the beat or whatever, and then you just start to play, and it's like allow you to string combos and you know bounce and jump off of other people, and like as you get further you unlock more skills and it becomes like even more entertaining and more hectic. So yeah, Hi-Fi Rush is probably one of Xbox's most successful drops in a very long time, and it's coming from Tango Gameworks that really works on like Evil Within and games like that. They don't really do this type of game, but the transition from that to this seems so seamless. It made so much sense that I'm like, I wonder what else Tango can do out of nowhere, and like you know put some time in, because this is a really well done rhythm game, and we probably haven't had anything like this on this type of caliber or level rhythm wise since like uh probably like a Jet Set. But I think there was another game that came out with the rhythm and like had that feel, and was heavily music incorporated. But I think Jet Set Radio is like in the same line of that, and this is like their new edition of that. Plus, it has the Sunset Overdrive over the top feel with the characters and the world, and it even has like really good animation. So, like overall, I can't praise it enough because simply they had a vision and that vision was executed properly. I have seen a lot of comparisons to other games. Not to be, not to, no play on word, but Forspoken is the one that kind of comes to mind about characters that are, how do you say, like they kind of they're larger than life over they just kind of exaggerate everything and they have like big personalities, but it feels like this one was done right in the world setting that made sense versus Forspoken in a very dull world, with a very much so not so larger than life persona, but they tried to make it that way. It just felt all types of wrong. Um, and I guess that's where the comparison started, and like everybody started talking about it because these games came out pretty much some similar time, and one's doing very well, very much so different light, but they have some types of comparisons there when it comes to the main characters and the movement and blase. But overall, I don't think these games are any way, shape, or form the same. I just think one or two things and that people are tying to annoying or more so a exasperated character. I think I'm saying that right. Character that nobody really wants to. I don't know. I guess that's the Hi-Fi Rush though. Hi-Fi Rush. Before I move into Forspoken comparisons, really great game. You should check it out. It's free on Game Pass if you have it. It's on PC as well. It even hit the Edge Epic Launcher, which I don't really know why. But it's on Steam, Epic Launcher, and it is on Xbox. So it runs really well on the Series S, and it runs really well on the Xbox Series X. I played on both already, so yeah, I just can't praise it enough. I think they did a really good job. But
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people. Like you mentioned Just Set Radio, and there are a lot of comparisons because it's a mixture of like a bunch of genres.
mm-hmm.
It's it has action where you can run around and beat up people, but it's based on a beat,
Mm-hmm.
so you combo to the music. But the art style, I guess, is probably the standout because it's. I think they said there is some 2D animation in there, but
Yeah.
it's 3D, but it mixes 3D and 2D to give like a cartoon art style,
Mm-hmm.
and the tone kind of just reminds you of like a cartoon, like Saturday morning cartoon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a really good job of that. It feels like obviously not as like well, I mean, it's a different take on it, but think of something like Ratchet and Clank, where it's very animated and lifelike and stuff like that. Like the
Yeah.
characters are very expressive, I would say, and that's really nice because like from Xbox, you don't really get that from them directly. And the
Mm-mm.
closest that you'll get is like because they tried like smaller games as well. I forget their battle royale. It wasn't a battle royale. It was a hero game. I forget the name of it.
Super Lucky Tail, maybe?
But no, not that one. The one by Ninja Theory. It was
Oh.
like
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember the name of it
yeah,
no
like
more.
that one had a
Oh,
cartoon
I
art
think it was
style, but it didn't really.
Razor's Edge or Truth's Edge, something like that. It was something Edge. But yeah, I know
Oh,
what you're talking about.
Bleeding Edge. Yeah.
Bleeding Edge, yeah.
I was gonna
Mm-hmm.
say they had a cartoon art style, but for me, it didn't really like have a lot of personality, like the
Mm-hmm.
characters or whatever stuff like that. Whereas this, it feels like Tango Game Rex. They really had an idea. They really put some love and care and like personality in the characters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fun. And I'll say what you were mentioning with like the character. Like the character, he is like an annoying. I don't know how old he is, but he seems like an annoying like 12-year-old that you would get from like a Ben 10 TV show or like
Mm-hmm.
uh, Cartoon Network TV show character. But it worked. The stuff that he's doing and the stuff that he's saying, because they're saying like jokes and they're saying memes and stuff like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It works because like he's a kid in this world that's silly and it's not in like a serious or like
Yeah, it's not in a
I don't know.
serious space where you're
Yeah, it's not
pulling
in a serious
someone
space.
that is like they're not pushing for realism. Like you're pulling someone out of a New York space and putting them into this realm, and then you just letting them run around like that because one, it's off putting to the space that you're now creating because he's not being taken out of a non-eccentric world. He's actually just being placed into another place where most of the stuff
Yeah, he
that's
feels
in
like he
here,
belongs in that world,
yeah,
and the world itself is still,
over the top.
um, yeah. Whereas for Spoken, like you mentioned, like the character's background doesn't match the world that they're in, and plus the
Yeah.
stuff that they're saying just make it more disconnected.
Yes.
To be fair to Forspoken, a lot of people did bring up that this is the exact same, like some of the same writers as Uncharted, and a lot of the same dialogue. I guess, and I would say a lot of the dialogue in Uncharted might be actually the same quality, but it works in that sense because I don't think anybody takes Nathan Drake seriously except for like Uncharted 4, where it was like more serious story. But it's like he's just, nobody. He's gonna run through with an
I think the
AK and kill
difference,
300 people and
yeah,
blow up a train.
I think the difference now is at the time. Like right now, the time is more around. Like, I don't think you can really truly have a big open world with a silly character because it just doesn't feel like that's the setting that most people or mindsets are in when they think of these expansive, large open worlds. Like there's no point in a world where I would see Assassin's Creed having a funny, down to earth character in that type of world space because it just doesn't make sense. Just like where Final Fantasy, even in their old Final Fantasy games, are like the newer Final Fantasy game, the Final Fantasy 15. The guy wasn't really like a fun individual. He had side characters that made him interesting or made him fun, and the dialect that they had wasn't always back and forth banter about nothing. So obviously there's like a good way and a bad way to do it. It's just that once again, I don't even really I don't find that a character cannot be interesting. I find that if the world isn't like a character, I don't have to be interesting. Like I played Ghost of Tsushima, and that guy Jen was boring, but the world wasn't. But that is the problem with Forspoken. The world still as much as boring as the character. So there's nothing that interests me to play it. Like I get having a character and having those tropes within a character. If you want to tell a story in a certain way, but at least make the world around them fun and interesting to engage with and have things to do and really flesh out that dialogue and really flesh out what you can experience in the world. But more so, you're on your own, you're talking to one person mostly, and there's not much of an engaging, situation there. You're really having the big dialogue moments with the bad guys, and that's not fun to me. I guess it's more like it's like The Witcher. The world. Like obviously Geralt's not uh a character that's I think we just been conditioned to make sure that the world is the most important part of it. And I see that with all games that are successful. Like V in Cyberpunk isn't the interesting person. It is everybody around him or her in the world. So I think we've been conditioned to feel that way about games, open world games. And when that doesn't happen, you only have to now you have to fall back on, your dialogue and the actual person, and it's just as dull as the rest of it. So it falls in line. I'm not saying that you can't have that type of character. I'm just saying that the world has to be more interesting. And Hi-Fi's Rush world is way more interesting than I've ever. Like when I first seen that, I was like, "Dang, this looks fun." When does it come out? That's when I realized it actually was out. I did not think about that with Forspoken. I thought, okay, cool combat. I wonder what they're going to do with the world because it looks a little bland. And when we first were introduced to it, she was just jumping from rock to rock. That was cool looking, but nothing about the world told me I want to run around and do something in there. So I think that is really what causes games like these open world large games to fail. But yeah, Hi-Fi Rush, good game. I did not want to, compare it to Forspoken right off bat because I just want to give it some more time to be praised. Jalen, did you see anything about it or check it out? I know you said you almost pressed that button, so I'm assuming you saw a trailer or something. Or maybe you just was scrolling through Game Pass trying to get to your Final Fantasy 13 that's gone.
Yeah, no, I was scrolling through there because every time I tried to. Last time I was playing Final Fantasy 13, that was like a couple of days ago, and it was working just fine. It did give me that error that do you own this game? You know what I'm saying? So it was doing that again. I was scrolling through Game Pass, and I saying Hi-Fi Rush, and I was like, don't know what this game is. Just giving a real indie game, but I mean, I was like, I potentially could try something like this, but after hearing you talk about it, I might try it. I'm a little bit more inclined to try it. I ain't gonna say a whole lot, but I was just like, oh man, I mean, why not? I was playing Perfect Dark Zero, so
Yeah, that was hilarious. But yeah, okay, well, no flowers, but I'm glad you at least will give it a chance if you have some time. I do think it deserves that a little bit of your time if you enjoy it. It does start off a little bit slower because you don't have a lot of the necessary tools. So you got like 2 hours before you start to get like some real combat stylistic fighting. But the soundtrack, the boss fights, the fights in between everything, they are pretty fun anyway in itself. So it did get you to that point. But once you start to get to the point where you got like your companions and stuff like that, it becomes a lot more interesting to juggle things and really focus in. And I know it's just going to get more and more expansive. And they have plenty of stuff you can backtrack to because there's plenty of places I can't go right now. So it got some repeat value as well. So it's like a much better recore. Much better recore in regards to like that type of that fun style of gameplay, but also having a world that's far more interesting to explore. So shout outs and kudos to Tango because honestly they were off my radar. I mean, the last thing I played for them was Ghostwire and I did not enjoy it. So I was like, maybe I just take a step back, but from their games. But no, this definitely reassured me that they are on the right path and they can pretty much, they can make a good game. They make good games. So I know I loved Evil Within. I loved Evil Within 2. And I believe they had another one game under their belt, which I'm forgetting now. But yeah. Anyways, kudos to Microsoft and Hi-Fi Rush. But the next thing I wanted to talk about was Big Philly. Big Philly coming up to IGN or phoning into IGN about he basically just had an interview and they were discussing everything that happened at the direct, the developers direct, and all the games that were announced and all of the things the plans that they were having. And she was throwing some hard questions at that guy. I didn't think she was, but she did. She asked him about the layoffs. She asked him about the acquisition. She asked about, Big Phil. He can roll with the punches. But basically, she was asking about that. She was asking about whether or not 2023 felt like a lot of pressure for them, and the Halo situation where people were let go and how he's handling that and what to expect from 343 in the future. So he answered a lot on that time frame. Even though they were kind of, to mold us over and not to really give us too much information, I felt like at least he didn't shy away from the questions, which that just shows, decent leadership. Well, not great, but good leadership skills and ability to kind of, take the brunt of the issues that are occurring. So Yeah. Um, I want to kind of touch on that. What's your thoughts on the interview? Did you even see it, Josh, or no?
I didn't see the whole thing, just some of the
Snippets.
highlights. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, um, like you mentioned, it is nice to see Phil Spencer out there doing that stuff because I don't even know who. Oh, his name Jim Ryan, but like the Sony guy that's president now, you don't see him much.
No, you don't.
And at this point, I don't expect you to because like he takes more of a backseat like business stance. And whenever these game company CEOs are
Hmm.
out and about like this, like Phil is, I mean, it's just good for the brand. It seems like he really cares about Xbox and he's trying
Yeah.
like to pull them around. And if it wasn't him in that space, then I think a lot of people would completely lose confidence in Xbox. Um, as far as like the actual topics, I think it's cool to bring them up because I think a lot of that is negative PR that you know other people at Microsoft would just avoid the conversation altogether. Um, but yeah, it's cool. Like the main stuff for me was like the 343 is still gonna be around,
Yeah.
and they're still they still say that as long as Xbox is around, so is Halo. But we still don't know what the actual future of Halo is. But
Hmm.
hopefully they're still committed to doing something with Infinite because I feel like it's a good foundation. And if they were to like leave it as is, it would be a lot of wasted effort. And ain't nobody gonna pick up Halo again. And if they like cancel this and then not cancel it,
Hmm.
but like leave it out to dry and then come out the new one in 7 years again, and nobody's gonna care at that point.
Yeah.
So
Um.
I gotta do something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough, especially when you because I felt like he didn't want to stomp on the launch of it. Like the launch was good. It's just that the follow up was horrible. And
Yeah.
it did get the praise it deserved in that regard, and people really enjoyed. At least, I definitely enjoyed that Halo combat and multiplayer a lot more than others. It's just that the momentum just kind of slowed, and it just went to a very bad spiral because of just the lack of updates, the just lack of content to play. So I get that. But he respectfully, he kind of wanted to be like, yeah, they need some work to be done. He said 343 is still over there. They had to move and shift some stuff around so they can make sure they had the right situation going and they have updates coming out. But overall, 343 is still going to be heading um, Halo. I just hope that it was the right call and well, they had to do something anyway. It was too much. So I get that part, but I just hoping that all works out well there. But and then he kind of went into Hi-Fi Rush about how they're getting a lot of positive buzz on social media because of the Shadow Drop and like the over eccentric stuff about it and everything. People loving the music, people loving everything about it, and he kind of stated that it was something that the team came up with, and they thought it was doing really well in the play testing and the level of quality that they were getting feedback on, and they wanted to kind of shadow drop it at the developers direct. So again, another one of those cool moments right off in the beginning of the year where they're actually getting some momentum in the right direction. Wow, there's unfortunately Forspoken was unfortunately, now that is being that is basically being the brunt of the joke, getting the brunt of the joke because of uh the comparisons and everything. Nobody likes to have a game do bad, so I'm not gonna keep going with that. I'm just saying that that is what is occurring now because the games came out at the same time. Um, they were talking about the acquisition, which really made me perk up a little bit because he said that basically he didn't know a lot about it when he first started it, but now that he does more, that he's more confident that it's going to go through. And I'm like, that sounds like a PR answer, big fail, because it just don't make I don't make sense because it's just too much happening, too many things. But he's feeling confident. Um, Hopefully, it's not a situation where he has to walk those words back. But he said he's feeling confident about it going through. Still, he feels as if he's going to have a good he has a good shot at that actually happening. And now that he's been having a lot of conversations with a lot of heads, or the I know I think she mentioned that um she mentioned something in regards to individuals getting far involved in or different boards, and working with uh different countries in regards to like trying to get all this stuff done. Um, but yeah, oh no, she said the FTC is suing, correct? But he said, yeah, like you said, he's still they still on schedule. He said they got an 18-month time frame. They're 12 months in. He think everything fine, perfect, hunky dory. So hey, he know more than I for sure. But hopefully it does go through. I mean, I would love to see that get under their camp as well, because I just know that, and we're gonna talk about it a little bit later. I'm sick of buying games, and as long as they having subscription based stuff, um, it allows me to play all the games that I actually want to play without having to commit to a game that may not find interesting. So the more I come in there, the more I can, expand into other games that I may want to purchase that I normally would reserve for these high releases, like on PlayStation. So selfish, but that is the point of the subscription, so I can try new things. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting Call of Duties and all of the other games and everything from Activision into this subscription service, so we can try some of this stuff without having to commit. But those were like the really big highlights. Like I said, 343 talking about the Activision. He even complimented the Last of Us HBO. He said it's fantastic, great adaptation to the television screen. But yeah, he ain't throwing no punches at Sony. But they doing really well. She did comment about the Halo TV series and whether or not and whether or not he felt like it is his hope that the Halo TV series can rise to that level in season 2. And he said he just wants the best for everything. Big Phil don't. Like I said, he ain't throwing no punches. He want to make sure it's a good year. And he's excited about Redfall. He's excited about Starfield, and he's really happy that about the Bethesda acquisition and how he's gonna be able to launch some games. I did not like that the other studios that you own outside of Bethesda haven't been heard from, like, at all. Like, I'm kind of over listening about 2023. I want to hear what your teams that you've been building for almost 3 years now. Has it been 3 years, Josh, when we heard about all those acquisitions and all those companies?
It's been about 3 because the Bethesda has actually gone through, and that took more than like a year, right?
Yeah. So I already knew what Bethesda was working on and what they were planning on doing. I'm looking forward to the people that we don't know what's going on, like Coalition, Playground Games. I'm looking forward to even looking at what Double Fine and everyone else has been working on outside of Psychonauts. Like, I want to see what these companies are doing. And obviously we know Ninja Theory is still working on Hellblade, but how good can that game really truly be? I really want it to be like I mean, there's nothing that in that realm of Hellblade that I feel like they can do more with, because it was more about one thing versus another. So I don't really see that expanding into something like very unique outside of polishing it and making that experience so strong. I'm ready to see something new. I'm ready to see something that nobody's has seen before, and are really ready for them to innovate and do something special. But yeah, we're obviously getting the Bethesda stuff. I mean, they just bought them. They obviously gonna be the forefront of it for a little bit. But I'm ready to see what, because they bought a bunch of freaking studios. So just ready to see what's going to happen there. But yeah, that's pretty much it on Big Phil. I think the cool thing about those interviews is that you get to kind of see what they're thinking about, what's top of mind, how they talk, how they answer these types of questions, what's the concerns. I still feel like Phil is doing a great job. I don't feel like he's doing a bad job at this I don't feel like he's doing a bad job at all. I just feels like there is a there definitely should be a little bit more emphasis on this year and making it right, because I know that they are earning money and they're making money. I just want them to kind of expand upon that and really hit a stride. So that way we can feel good about the content that they're going to be putting out, as well as the player base expanding, so that this model that they're doing, because they're doing a lot to service the customer. I want this model to succeed because I want other people to copy it. So if this model is not succeeding, I'm a little disappointed. I'm not more so upset or angry or I hate PlayStation. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying more so I like this model. I want it to succeed so they can continue to expand this model into other areas. What's your thoughts on Phil at Xbox, and do y'all have any thoughts really on Phil at Xbox and what he's currently doing? I always look at it from a business aspect, but anything that y'all saw was like, that's cool, dope, or anything he's lacking that y'all want to see more of, for real.
And what you think, Jalen? It's your boy Phil.
Big Philly. JBZ, you're muted.
Yeah.
What do you say? Man, he said, "Oy, oy, oy," and then it just went back me.
Nah, I had to clear my throat, but I didn't want to do it with the thing.
Oh, okay.
I ain't trying to hear
it. Gotcha. We was in the middle of trying to figure out what we want from Big Phil in the 2023 space, 2023.
Better games on Game Pass. I'm late to the ball game, but here I'm better late than never. Put better games on the Game Pass. I think it's cheeks.
You think Game Pass cheeks?
Man, there wasn't nothing on that scene that was real entertaining. I had to go back through there for a fourth time to see if I find anything.
Okay, what's a level of game that you're interested in playing that you would love to come to Game Pass day one?
Left 4 Dead.
Left 4 Dead 2 and 1?
Yep.
Oh,
it ain't that hard.
Left 4 Dead. Interesting take. What about you, Josh?
Yeah.
Anything you looking for him to finish, do, complete? Any sleepers that you was like, oh man, I wish they would have talked about this, or I wish they would have actually mentioned something about this? Anything like that?
You mean like games that should come to Game Pass, or just
just anything Big Phil should be doing more of? Anything they should be actually working on or trying to continuously improve? Anything that you kind of think they need to kind of work on for sure?
Yeah, I know that it's not going to work for everybody, but I personally think that their Hi-Fi Rush is a good example of just having smaller games is better than having like nothing first party to come out, because they have talented people and people want to play, those games if they're good, and as long as they can like put them out, I don't personally mind with them coming out. How to put it? I know that they tried it before with like Sea of Thieves and stuff like and Ori and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and it kept people happy for a while. Right now, in the last year or so, we haven't seen as many first party titles from Xbox. And I think that that's them trying to focus on, okay, we need to focus on bigger titles. We need, something the level of Last of Us, something level of God of War. And that's true. They do need those things. And for people like Jalen who look on Game Pass, he's going to skip 99% of it unless it's like, I
Yeah,
don't know,
Jalen
a
still do
really
box art
interesting.
reviews. Jalen still
Yeah.
doing box art reviews for real, for real.
So if they ain't got the God of War competitor, Jalen gonna skip it. But they can't keep going like year after year with like nothing or dropping like one or two games. So personally, I want them to at least say that they're gonna do more with games like Hi-Fi Rush, smaller budget, had really good at what it does, and people will like it. The reason I say that is because with the Xbox developer thing, it was okay. Hi-Fi Rush was the highlight, and a game like Redfall, I want to play. Yeah, like it's like Left 4 Dead. The enemies seem interesting. Like I think vampires are more interesting than zombies because at least they can have some sort of personality or different powers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But that game it took a long time to make. Maybe hopefully a lot of people play it, but it's kind of like not exciting.
No,
So
it's not exciting as much as what I would
same
like it
thing
to
as
be.
like yeah, same thing as Starfield is not exciting for me, and I feel
Mhm.
like them banking on these big budget games that might come out to mixed reviews is kind of bad for the brand overall. It's like with Sony, like everything they come out, like nothing under a 90 if it's coming out of Sony. So
Yeah.
um and the stuff that is under 90, like what was that game? Days Gone, we just know that they're not going to continue it. So I don't know. I just think that they should start betting on their smaller games a little bit more instead of big titles that might not hit.
Uh, nah, yeah, I agree. I got to disagree, but agree in some portions of it. I agree with some of what you stated. I do think they still need to focus on the larger games. I just think that they need to zone in on every zone in on story development, storytelling, and narrative design. Like I truly think that people are like if you look at all the games that are successful on the PlayStation, they're all so heavily narrative driven and dialogue and like these people are really good at making good stories more than anything. The world is built around the story. The story and the world are built together. Like that is how you make a great game. And truly, most of the time, um, these games don't have much of a exploration feel. They're very limited linear games that have a lot of detailed in the small things, but not much in the bigger scale. Like they need to learn how to tone down, and that is not what that's not a Bethesda um skill set. To be honest, they don't do tone down. They make expansive worlds with a lot of character, and the experience is done by the character or by the actual player than anything. So what they need to focus in on is creating those types of games because honestly, they're not that. I'm not saying that they're not hard to make. They are makeable with a lot of money. That's it. Motion capture, really bringing in the faces, bringing in like an almost on a level of a movie, but You find a great script, you find a great story to tell, and you find a great world to build. I don't I don't see that not being possible on Xbox. I just see them loving the the gameplay more than the story that they're telling. That's just what it is. It's like they prefer to provide a gameplay that is fun or enjoyable and doesn't restrain the player to the detriment of the storytelling, story driven narrative game. They just prefer this over that. These games that we love on this, or people love on Sony, have a very limited scope, and they hone in on that scope, and they hone in on those that lesson, that understanding, what it means to play the game, and what it means, and that feeling that you come out at the end of that game. They hone in on that. They don't deviate too much. Whereas on Xbox, there is no structure when it comes to certain games. It's just really, I don't know. Their best effort was Gears 5. Their best effort was Gears 5 and Gears 4. Of trying to hone in.
I
What would you consider their best effort on that type of to that level of storytelling and narrative?
No, I agree that I think that the storytelling needs to be a stronger focus for them to like raise the pedigree of their franchises.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is I think that that they've tried to raise the storytelling in the wrong franchises that don't need more storytelling. Like Halo, they tried to do a lot more with like, one-shot cameras and we doing all this story and emotion and stuff like that. Halo doesn't need more story. Same thing with Gears. I don't care about a single thing in Gears universe because it was not made to even be a universe that has a cohesive story. You're just going through blowing up locusts and then, oh, here come more locusts and then blah, blah, blah. Like, that's the whole story of Gears. I don't care. So it's a waste of time to invest Last of Us 2 money into Gears franchise.
I agree, but that is the franchise.
Make a new IP, put all your storytelling, your best camera work, all that stuff in your new IP or IP that has the potential to grow and have these characters. Everything else, just focus on what they're good at. Like, even though Skyrim is an old game, and I do agree that Bethesda games need to evolve because they've been copying from the same formula for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, nobody buys those games for the story. Nobody wants a main character in those games. People were mad that Far Cry 4 had a main character with like a set backstory. People just want gameplay. The gameplay needs to be fun. The world needs to be big. There needs to be 1,000 quests, and you're supposed to get a bunch of weapons and spells and all that stuff. Like,
you meant Fallout 4 though, right? Not Far Cry 4. You said Fallout.
Yeah, my bad. Fallout 4. People don't want anything else from Bethesda. They just want them to make better games. Like, the problem with Bethesda is they keep copying the same games and they run trash and the engine is trash and stuff like that. And it feels like low effort. But if they play to their strengths and give people what they want, people will be happy with Starfield. People will be happy with Elder Scrolls 6.
No, I agree. So like, that's what I was trying to get at is like, say for instance, they're working on a perfect Dark Zero. I don't know nothing about that world, but if that world had enough,
they need to skip it, and I don't know why they. That's exactly what I mean. Perfect Dark Zero is the wrong franchise. I mean, sure, maybe they completely like reinvent it. It's nothing like the old ones. It's just the same name. Fine, that's a reboot. It has nothing to do with the old ones. But if they're going to continue a story from the old games, that's kind of dumb. Because, like, at least God of War, it was like, it had a story that you could follow, even though it was kind of stupid. It had a story you can follow, and they rebooted it, and now we're going to, take it slow and unpack all that stuff that happened in the past. Perfect Dark Zero does not have that because those games didn't even really have a story at that time. It's just like playing GoldenEye and expecting, oh, we gonna come out with a GoldenEye sequel in 2022. It's gonna continue the Nintendo 64 story. Like,
So Perfect Dark
make these
Zero
franchises
definitely
be
was
fun.
not one then.
No, I mean, what's the point? Why, if you want to tell a story about a spy woman, why not make a brand new franchise? Why does it have to be Perfect Dark Zero?
Mm. Because that is the one with the brand
You agree,
recognition.
right, Jalen? You used to like Perfect Dark Zero. You want to see more of what old girl got to say?
What was her name?
Right, where's it at?
What was her name?
Zero? No, just one. I think it's like Jonah Dark or something.
Yeah, Joanna Dark or something.
Man.
Oh no, I know that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I understand that that they don't have the prowess or the franchises to build up off of, which makes sense. I just want to know that when they do put that effort into something and they do put that financial backing into something, it is the right thing and not the wrong. And it's so many wrong as of late that I think they are attaching big money to games that have some similarity of success or some game name recognition, because they are too nervous to drop a brand new IP that is going to, one, be judged in a different light because it's a new IP, and two, they can either they can hide this, they can hide the success of that game or the lack of success of that game due to it being a new IP and maybe having some renditions or some changes down the road. So I get what you're saying though. I don't really have an answer to it because it seems as if they have to try something. But I know that there is a level of these games. What do you have to fit these games? And they have to answer that call at least twice or once a year. What do you have for this God of War? What do you have for Last of Us? What do you have for Horizon? What do you have for this? Like, they have to have something to answer that call. And that is going to level the playing field, because at the end of the day, they got games. They just not games that people can compare to the other top tier games. So once they put that level there and we want to experience that level more and more, they hit that benchmark, they can now showcase, okay, this is the benchmark. How do we recreate it and elsewhere? But the Game Pass is what's going to allow us to have the actual fun we want to have in games. Because these are, truly and to be honest, these are stories. These are not fun, have a great time. God of War has been like the only one that had broke the mold of, I take that back. Horizon and God of War, Last of Us, and Naughty, everything came out of Naughty Dog was not fun to play, but it was fun to watch. But at least Horizon and God of War were fun to play and watch. So those broke the mold. So they are already, not only are they making it harder for them, they're bringing out games with high quality gameplay and storytelling. So it's just like they're starting to even lose the level of that level that they were at first. So now they're taking off even further from Microsoft. So they have to answer that call, and then we can start comparing.
Not just competing with gameplay; they're competing with stuff that Xbox is not doing at all. Yeah,
they're just not. They're not on the same pedestal and level, so they have to figure out something to answer that call. And people requesting that Halo become that is ridiculous to me. People requesting Gears of War to become that is ridiculous to me, because these games were never meant to be. But they saw God of War rebrand itself, and they thought maybe we can do it too. No, these worlds are totally different. These worlds, you're talking about Norse mythology. They changed the whole thing. They changed the world to make it more interesting. Like, they already seen us fight the Greeks. What can we do now? They changed the world around Kratos. Gears, you can't change that world. That is that world. It's a post-apocalyptic. They can't go to a different planet. They can try, but this ain't what it is. This is you fighting Earth. You're trying to save Earth. So it's just that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna be what it is. And I haven't seen a narrative leap to make Gears of War become that. And it won't. It never will. So I don't look forward to the next Gears game as a comparison to anything God of War or Horizon related. I look towards those games that haven't been announced. Those games that are secrets above and beyond the level of degree we've ever seen from Microsoft. And then we can start comparing Forza Motorsport to Gran Turismo and these games, because they already hit those out the park. But as long as you have something to get those people off the eyes of the smaller games, you have to keep people more freedom, give people more ability to represent their brand in a different way. So Hifi Rush is one of those games that just came out, really fun to play. But they have to hit that mark. They can't just not do it. It's always going to be a never-ending cycle of, well, they got better games because of this level or tier that they never will meet. Microsoft has the money to buy people that can make that tier, which they have, and they probably have the talent now. It's really just and I think 2024 is probably going to be the year we really get to see some really good games come out of them, or at least one. I'm hoping for one into 2024 that is like very much so that level. They could possibly do it with the Indiana Jones game, but let's see. You just don't know. So, and Indiana Jones been seen so many times, it's not new. So it's really hard to make a game like that become your star player, because we already know what the Indiana Jones story is and what they kind of do. It's really time for them to create something special. So once they do that, I have full confidence in Big Phil and his ability to right the ship of Xbox. But for now, I have not seen the quality met, and I don't expect it to be this year either. Not with no Starfield, definitely not with no Redfall. So yeah. Anywho's, let's move on to our last topic, because we ran over Dead Space Remake. So the Dead Space Remake is actually really, it's reviewing really well, right? You could say that, right, Josh? It's reviewing extremely well. People are enjoying it, and it's good. It's $70 though. But let me go back. Dead Space is doing really well. Were able to recapture the feel, the horror, the scariness, the setting. They were able to repurpose and redo certain parts of Dead Space 1 to make it feel more engaging and fun. They were able to hit the mark on sound quality. That's really hard, in my opinion. I haven't seen it done well in a game since, not that level of game anyway, like a horror game anyway. And they knocked it all out the park. And everybody's loving it. People saying it's running well. I did see something about the 4090 not being able to run it at 60 Ultra, but ain't nobody worried about the elites. You run it at 1440p upscaled. But it's a really well done game. Quality wise, this is a rare W for EA, in my opinion. But we already kind of knew that you really can't mess up Dead Space, but this is a hard feat. This is remaking a game that everyone beloved and winning people back. So that's hard. Don't want to take that away from them. I'm glad they did it, and I'm glad that this is now the definitive way to play Dead Space 1. All right. It's $70. No, I can't. It's a remake. I've beaten the game. I personally am probably, and I was really excited about this game, and I think I'm gonna have to do the same thing for Resident Evil 4 Remake. Is that no, I'm not going to pay you for a game I beat multiple times over. I'm not paying $70 to replay that game. I have to have a new experience to pay $70 at this point. And even with new experiences, I am judging it extremely harshly when I give you $70. At this point, I have become accustomed to Game Pass. I have become accustomed to finding games for cheaper. I have become accustomed to waiting. I have no fear of missing out in my bones anymore because I know at some point, one, I'm not even going to probably have the time to push into this game. Two, it's more than likely going to be a game I sit on for a while to complete. And three, I have a back catalog that is, at this point, very ridiculous. So, no, respectfully, I'm not giving you $70 EA. I don't even like you for real. But I wouldn't give $70 to anyone at this point that I felt like in some way, shape, or form I could wait on it. And it's tough because you don't think that they don't deserve the money. You just know that I'm accustomed to the money not being like valued. Like I'm accustomed to 3 weeks later it's $40. I'm accustomed to these price drops that are very significant and quick. They don't take long, and it just feels as if that $10 price hike did so much more damage, and Game Pass did so much more, even more damage to how people perceive the cost of a video game now. So I praise it for everything it's done right. I do. I truly do. And I think Resident Evil 4 would be a very much so in the same cloth. But I ain't paying that money. So I'm not going to be getting it anytime soon. Maybe for 30, maybe for 40. That is when I think I will, indulge and actually purchase. But yeah, I know we kind of talked about this off camera and or off pod and had a little conversation around it. But what's your thoughts on? Let the people know what your thoughts on these $70 games, remakes, and all, Josh.
Yeah, like I thought about it a bit after we talked about it, and for me, let's say it's full price or even premium price.
Sound weird. Can you hear him okay, Jalen?
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can. My bad. I'll be having my thing muted. But yeah, I can.
Okay, it must be me then. Continue.
Okay. No, when it comes to like remakes for, I'll just say premium price, whatever that price is, it's $70 and up at this point. I guess it depends on how much the game has changed or
yeah,
the effort into the game. Because like a lot of these games, especially, have been updated in like the last generation or so to be run at 60 or they're at least playable on modern systems. I can still go back and enjoy the original Dead Space. Still a good game. Obviously, the remake has like the added benefits to it, but they are asking for premium price. But when I was looking at other remakes, I guess it depends on how much it changed from the original. For example, Resident Evil Remake, Resident Evil 2 Remake and Resident Evil 3 Remake were completely different games. Like, even though you don't go to the police station, you'll be in Raccoon City, it was a PlayStation 1 game, and comparing the two, they're completely different. Like, the stuff, even the size of the map on the new game, you couldn't even do on the PlayStation 1 because the hardware couldn't handle it and stuff like that. So it's like, it's a lot of new content. It's a lot of stuff that you never seen before. It's a lot of stuff you never imagined before because the hardware just couldn't do it that way. Whereas like Dead Space, the original is a 360 game. And to be fair, I mean, I know what a necromorph looks like. I know what it looks like when in Dead Space 2, where they like crawling out of people's bodies and stuff like that. And it still will look a lot better on the new stuff, but it's not a completely new experience that I haven't seen before. So I guess my thing is maybe remakes don't need to be done so soon. Because I know you mentioned like Zelda, and like I like the Zelda games and what I played full price for like a Zelda remake. And when I think about it, most of them no, because a lot of them I can still go back to and enjoy. Like um they came out with the Ocarina of Time remake and Majora's Mask remake on the 3DS. And I didn't play them because those games didn't need a full price remake. They're still playable, they're still fun. All you gotta do is just put them on a modern system with modern controls and people will still enjoy them. If it's like, oh, Zelda 1 and this was an NES game and we're gonna remake it, I guess that makes a little more attractive purchase for me at least. So I mean that's my stance on it. I feel like Jalen or y'all, like, would y'all buy a full price $70 Pokemon remake, but it's like, oh, this is Pokemon Red and Blue, but with actual current gen graphics and open world stuff like that. Like, even though they would never do that, I think that would be much more attractive than just what was that game?
Scarlet,
Pokemon
Violet.
Pikachu. Let's go Pikachu. Yeah.
Oh, let's go Pikachu. Well, that was just Pikachu Go. I mean, or Pokemon Go.
I mean, it was a remake of the original game, but it wasn't completely different, like reimagining of it. It's kind of just I don't know. What would you describe it?
Well, I don't know. I didn't play it. I don't know. Maybe Jalen played it, Pokemon. Let's go.
Yeah, I had it.
Did you like it? Did you enjoy it, or was it like a lot different than what you usually would play a Pokemon game, or was it like not really anything different?
I mean, it was different. I mean, it was updated and stuff like that, but it was still like Pokemon Red version and stuff like that. It wasn't nothing like drastically significant. It's like Pokemon on easy mode.
And I know they had a new mechanic for catching Pokemon. Were you able to turn that off?
I don't really remember. I really don't remember why they called it Let's Go. It's supposed to be based off like Pokemon. That Pokemon. I wish I thought. I would percentage, but then again,
It's fading in and out. But I think I heard what you said.
In and out. Can't really hear you.
Yeah, I think I heard him say in regards to Pokemon is that it wasn't much of a change that he could remember, at least.
Yeah, I don't think it would. Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
A little Pokeball thing. I don't think it was like a big deal. It was you like flick the Pokeball to like catch them. I don't think it really impacted the gameplay positively or negatively. Like, if you liked it, it was cool. If you didn't, it didn't. It wasn't like too bad.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it was just a remake of Red version, basically, except like you start off with Pikachu, and I think Pikachu had a specific move. I think it's like Zippy Zap or something like that. Um, and then you didn't have you didn't have like the Charmander and all that.
Yeah, I was just saying that it was a remake of the first game, but it wasn't like a brand new take on the franchise. Like, this is, we're gonna take our last Pokemon game, whatever that one was at that time, and just go back to the original Pokemon. So it felt like a current gen. This feels just like all the other Pokemon games. It's just weird in the past area. Which, if they're gonna do a remake, like I said, just make it feel like something new that I haven't seen before. Where that game, it didn't feel like something I never seen before.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, what's the point of remaking it? You know?
Yeah. Agreed. I think it's tough when you say it like that. It's kind of like No, every remake isn't shouldn't be treated the same. You're absolutely right. And I think there is a level to time and actual, changes, design, and everything like that. But yeah, I think Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 fall into that space for me of it's not a cash grab because they actually did put effort into it, but at the same time, it doesn't feel like that should be a $70 or worthy of that amount of money of a full blown ground from the ground up type of game. So um there should be
Like we
some
mentioned when
standard.
they first announcement, I I would have been really excited for it if they did this exact same effort, but it was Dead Space 4 or Dead Space 1.5 or something.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, yeah, because then you know you're not going to get this like similar experience to what you already kind of had, and it's not going to be on the same cloth of that, and it's like it's going to be more of a new places, new experience, new locations, maybe different enemies, but when it comes to just remaking things and using the same assets you already had or owned, it's kind of tough. So I think yes. Um, but but
And I know
but to
you
the
and nostalgia. That's all these type of remakes play to is nostalgia. Oh, you remember the first time the necromorph like jumped out the vent and jumped on you?
hmm
Uh, That's what they playing on.
no, yeah. I really do not care. It's just more of a if the game was running crappy the first time around and it's not now, that gives me more um that gives me more of a battery in my back to go out and buy it because I hated the experience I had, but I love the experience I had on there, whether or not it was 30 frames or 60 or whatever the case may be. I love that experience. I remember playing that on my laptop or something, I think. But yeah, those games are great. So I really don't have much to say on it outside of um, the remakes weren't necessary, and if they aren't necessary, then I definitely don't want to spend money on it. It's still a tough pill to swallow when it comes to $70 games that aren't of the quality of a God of War or Horizon. It just makes it harder for me to want to spend that money. But at the end of the day, there's experience that I want to have, and there's experience in games that I want to play, like Street Fighter 6. I will give them that money just because I want to experience that game. But at the same time, I know they're putting in their best effort. They're doing a lot to try to make the game different, and that I can trust that company to know that that money is being well spent on even more development, more things. But when it comes to trying new games and trying new things, like I would never pay for Redfall out of my pocket, period. I never pay for Starfield out of my pocket, period. But I would pay for like a Hi-Fi Rush if I wanted to play that and it wasn't on Game Pass. I would pay for that out of my pocket because I would want to engage in that type of content. It's just that they have to be unique, they have to be engaging, and they have to provide that level of quality that I'm looking for. And the price has to be it has to be priced accordingly. I think there is a conversation to be had about pricing and pricing accordingly. Like everybody shouldn't pay. I shouldn't have to pay $70 for every game. I shouldn't have to pay $60 for every game. Some games there's a level of quality and a level of design that should be incorporated into that. Like Dead West, I believe that game was 49.99 on Steam. I mean Evil West, because there's a level of quality and a level of design in indie games and blah blah blah, whatever the case may be, to price it differently. Even with these AAA studios, yes, your game was hard to make and a degree, a level of people that was there, but is the quality of that game at the end product worthy of the $70 price tag? And that's where you get the DLC and all that stuff to add on to make sure they're recouping their funds. But baseline, as you kind of stated before when we were talking about it off off the podcast, is that baseline has increased. So now that if you want certain things, you might as well wait till it's half off. So that way you can get all the DLC and all the content for the price closer to or even less than the price of the base game. So all tide rises, and it kind of causes people to reevaluate. How much of an impact do you think Game Pass had on that, Josh?
Um,
Because
I
subscription
think
services
well,
have been around, but I think this is the most popular and most successful one. You know.
yeah, it's definitely the most successful for games. I don't know how big of an impact it is for, I guess, everybody because a lot of people either don't have an Xbox or they don't use Game Pass. I use Jalen for example. He does play Game Pass, but if Jalen plays 5 games a year, I guarantee you most of those are not on Game Pass because maybe those games are just not available on Game Pass. So I think that as Game Pass continues to like spread and becomes more available, that will make a difference. Where
Mm.
if you want to buy Dead Space Remake on PlayStation for $70, or you can play it on Game Pass for no additional cost, I think that will make a really big difference. But I don't know. I personally, well, let me put it
Well,
this
you
way.
know, you get the EA Play. I don't think that one got the 10-hour trial for Dead Space Remake though.
10-hour trial. I don't really count that though because it's a trial. It's not like I have the whole game, no additional cost. Whereas like if you play the trial, you still have to buy the game.
Yeah.
If games start coming out, well, my bad. I'll segue real quick. This is probably what Sony was afraid of, but like Call of Duty. Like if Call of Duty is a big AAA title, a lot of people can buy, drops on both Game Pass and PlayStation at the same time, and is completely free on Game Pass, then that will literally get people to come over because they're saving money by playing it on that platform. It's just right now haven't seen that happen yet, so I don't think Game Pass is too much of an impact. I think the games that are showing up, the Game Pass is helping them more than they are helping Game Pass in a lot of smaller cases.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just it's a lot to take in, a lot to think about, but overall, $70 games is starting to become more and more of a difficult pill to swallow, especially when there is a level out there that you're experiencing, and then there's this level of there's just this very large window and gap of quality versus the cost. So it's just such a large gap now when it comes down that spectrum, that I believe fair pricing, in turn targeting pricing, should fit this type of medium at this point. There's just too much of a degree of difference in the quality of a game. And I think that should be reserved for the higher tier games.
I don't know if PC is going to make a difference in this, but still a lot of these games that are 70 are still at max launching at 760 on PC. And I still think that's crazy. It seems like a PlayStation or console quote unquote tax. And if that's the case, then it can stay on the consoles. I think that PC is proving to be a good alternative for people who are wise to that, I think.
Yeah. Yep. So, it's just that whole idea is just very interesting to kind of have a conversation around. So I appreciate y'all having it. But I think that's pretty much it for this week. I want to wrap it up here because we're running a little short on time. Any lasting thoughts for the people? Anything you guys want to say before we say farewell and take your trip to the Japan?
No, we actually covered a lot.
Yeah, we did. Hifi Rush, Big Phil, Dead Space. One thing we didn't cover is Naughty Dog not doing Uncharted anymore, but
yeah, that's fine.
It was time. It's time for Last of Us, but I mean,
I
Nigga
was just
probably
gonna say it's definitely time, but
yeah, it's time. So they saying that if they find the right story, they make another one. But Uncharted, they said that one ended well, so they're done with that one. So which makes sense. And it's time for Naughty Dog to jump into something else narratively driven, which I'm pretty sure will be phenomenal as well. Because they tell good stories. It don't really matter about. Well, it does, but they tell good stories. So. But that's pretty much it. I want to thank you guys for listening. I appreciate you as always. If you got to this part, you're the real OG. I want to thank you for listening. You can always find this wherever you listen to podcasts. Give us a rating, what you think of us, and let us know feedback wise. I appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys in the next one. Peace.